So explain to us what libertarian is.
I hear that all the time. Let me tell you what libertarian is. Libertarian is someone who says you can be as liberal or as conservative as you want to be. Just don't force others to be like you.
Got it.
That's what we are all about. We are all about long-term solutions, not short-term solutions. We're all about changing culture, not just changing law. Law, we have to remember something. At the end of almost every single law is a guy or a gal with a gun who will put you in a cage. And if you don't want to go in that cage, he or she is going to kill you. That means you only use law when it really matters, not just because I'm angry, not because I don't like you, not because you should do some activity I think you shouldn't do, or whatever the case may be. It's only for important things like life and liberty and property and things like that. That's when you use violence. That's when you use force. That's what libertarians are all about.
Yes, it is Larry Sharp. I am here. It's Libertarians Drinking Coffee Live. So happy you give me a chunk of your afternoon, a little bit after 3 p.m. on the East Coast. And I am very lucky today that I have someone with me who has been fighting the good fight in the great state of Georgia, which everyone's talking about Georgia now, right? That's the big state. Someone who ran for Congress in Georgia's 14th district. Yes, that is MTG, or Marjorie Taylor Greene's district. But the woman who I'm talking about is someone far cooler than her, Libertarian candidate Angela Pence. How are you?
Hi, thank you. That's so sweet. I don't see myself as cool, but I probably am really much better than her.
You are running and you are pregnant. That's really cool.
Yes. I found out I was pregnant while I was campaigning. And I'm always blessed with morning sickness. So that was incredibly fun to navigate while, like, in the dead of summer, right? Because we were petitioning the dead of summer. It's like 85, 90 degrees. And I'm trying not to vomit in people's face.
Well, there we go. So look, she may not vomit, but she might now. And if you want to watch it, let people know, like, comment, and share. She might vomit. You never know.
I might, we don't know. I might have a kid. My water might break right now.
She might have a baby right here, live in front of you. It could happen. If you think it's important, it's impressive, do me a favor, like, comment, and share. It is important. But your struggle, right? Your run. And for those of you who want to know what she was doing, you can check out her Twitter at Angela414. That is Angela FOR14. Twitter handle. Going to check her out. You were fighting a very tough fight, and you knew it was going to be a tough fight when you even started. So what made you decide to run this? I mean, you knew it wasn't going to be easy. Why do it?
Because I like destroying my life. No,
I know the feeling, Angela. I totally understand the feeling. Yes.
I like being a sacrificial lamb.
There we go. Yes.
Yes. I'm incredibly passionate about ballot access. I really feel like if somebody wants to run for office, they should be able to run for office, right?
Agreed.
And so Georgia has some of the most restrictive ballot access laws. And so for somebody like me, for a districted race, luckily we have ballot access statewide, but for our districted races, all the way down to like state districted races, you have to get 5% of the registered voters in that district. So for me, that looked like 23,000 minimal, signatures. That's insane for especially like an independent candidate who has literally no network or anything like that. So
absolutely,
I knew that I was a decent enough, communicator that I could, and I knew that this was a big race. So I knew that first and foremost, I could get out there and start talking about ballot access.
And you felt like you could kind of bring that message out and get a good percentage. What did you end your percentage with?
So I did not make it on the ballot. We had
I'm sorry to hear that.
We knew going in, but we collected several thousand signatures.
Nice.
We did not, yes, we did not meet the threshold, of course, but it was enough that it was interesting because we were talking about percentage, right? So
Mhm.
I decided after that, kind of fast forwarding a little bit, that I wasn't going to go through with like an official write-in campaign because, of being pregnant and everything. And our district in the state of Georgia, this district pulled the most write-in votes of any other district in the
It's
state.
amazing.
It is. So I can only assume from the messages that I got or was receiving from people just nonstop, that at least some of those were mine. So we ended up with, I think the total count was like 490 something write-in signatures for this district, which seems like such a small number. But that was, I mean, that normally when you get
No, that's
write-ins,
500
that's
people who decided to get off the couch, right? Put
yeah,
down the Xbox or turn off Netflix or whatever they were doing, right? And
yeah,
then take their butts down to a polling station and write your name in. That's
yes,
a big deal. I completely agree. And I think what it shows and what so many people aren't getting, that's not true. What so many people in the mainstream media don't want to get is we are so hungry for a third or other option that we will literally take 2-3 hours out of our day for a protest vote.
no, absolutely,
I mean,
absolutely,
that's something, right? I mean, most of the people who are getting elected are getting elected because they happen to have an R or a D by their name, not because
hmm
someone actually wants to go out and write their name in. I think it's a big deal.
exactly. It it was very humbling. I had people, it was so cool because I mean when you there's so many different emotions, right, that happens when you
Sure.
like, and I know you know this, like, okay, you're out here, you're petitioning and you don't get that threshold and you're not able to move forward. And in a sense, it's like, okay, I knew there was the win of getting the message out about ballot access because I was super blessed to have amazing media coverage, but it was still kind of like, this really sucks.
Yes.
And to have people like, I was trick or treating with my kids, and I had people like stopping while I was in random neighborhoods, and they were like, "We voted for you."
Oh, it's so good. Yes, it's so
It's
good.
humbling. It is, but
Yes.
they're so, people want change so
Yep.
much.
They know
Um,
something's wrong, but they
yes.
don't really know exactly what's wrong. And they
Yep.
also don't know how, like, what do I want to do something, right? I know it's wrong,
Yes.
but I got my life, I got my kids, I got all my stuff I got to do. And
Yep.
I still want to do something, but I don't know what to do. So when they go, oh, I could write Angela in. Okay,
Yeah.
I can do something. Okay.
Yeah.
So they jump up and they rush in and they do that because, see, I did something. I didn't just sit on my butt when stuff was burning. I figured out to
Right.
do something. Angela gave me a reason. It's funny how someone like you, Angela, who gets out there and does that, and it's punishment. People don't realize when you run for office, there's a level of punishment.
Yes.
There really is.
Yes.
But there are some people who are just so angry on how dare you break up our system that they're so mad at you. And then the
Oh,
other
yeah.
side, which is like, thank you. Oh my God. Thank you
Yeah.
so much. Yes. I mean, you've had to have had people who are also angry at you also, right?
Actually not as much. And when I did get it, it was from some very unexpected places. But
Mm.
for the most part, like being, because I had to go door to door,
Mhm.
because here we don't have any major cities, so we have
Right.
to get out and about. And like, not saying that others don't, but like we're going door, we have to go door to door.
Right.
We don't have much of another option. And so getting out and going to businesses and going door to door. I mean, I think I maybe only got a handful of no's.
Oh,
And
nice. Okay.
yeah, and they were not, you would expect, especially from people that maybe, really like Marjorie. I mean, they weren't ugly. They weren't,
Mm.
anything like that. It was just like, I don't think I'm gonna sign. And it's like,
Okay.
okay, just all right. But most people actually were incredibly receptive. It was funny.
Okay.
We did one event, and it was towards the end, and it was the first event, me and my campaign manager, we were out, and it was the first time that I had been told no, like a
Okay.
couple times in a row. Because most of the time when we're out, especially if I was the one to approach whoever, they would sign. But I got told no like 3 or 4 different times in a row, and he came up to me, he goes, "Oh my gosh," he's like, "What's wrong?" Like, he's like, "They're telling you no." And I was like, "I don't know. It just happens sometimes." But it was never, never, I don't think I encountered from my community,
Sure.
any, very rare did I get any kind of nastiness. For the most part, actually, it was very interesting because most people wanted me to be able to run. I think
So let me ask the next question then. Do you
yeah.
think you made enough impact to where there could be some movement on maybe someone being upset about ballot access rules or ballot access laws? Do you think there's some impact being made?
Oh, absolutely.
Good.
Most people didn't realize what even some of our state legislators didn't realize. And I actually had, there was one point I did have a sit down with Marjorie, and we were talking, and I explained the ballot access to her, and she didn't know. And so it was explaining like, okay, this is what I have to do. But as we're sitting there, I said, let's say that come November, let's say I make the ballot, right? And come November, we end up in a runoff. Say I make it through that runoff, and I win in December. I said I would have to, if I run for reelection, I would have to get that same number of signatures again. So I said it doesn't retain. And she looked at me really funny, and she goes, "Well, there's nothing that can be done at a federal level, So I do give credit where it's due, and she
Yes.
said, "Absolutely." I said, "No, it's a state thing." And
Yep.
so our state legislators, though, many of them didn't realize how bad the
Yep.
ballot access was, until I'm blessed
Well,
to
this is
have
my
good
issue
relationships.
that I talk about, right? I'm actually not upset. People say, well, Larry, in New York State, in my case, mine is bad too, right? Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. We have coffee. Yes. Drink coffee live. Yes, sorry. Yes.
Yeah. Well, I
Sorry.
have
So
hot
yes.
chocolate.
There we go. Yes. So so the thing that bothered me in my state is my previous governor, Andrew Cuomo, set up these rules that are literally impossible for people to get on, right? So, and the rules aren't just the number. People don't realize that. It's not just the number that you have to get, right? I have to get 45,000 signatures in 6 weeks in a time of the year where there's still snowstorms in New York State. That's what I have to do. But it's not just that. I also have to get at least 500 signatures from half the congressional districts. Meanwhile, during 2 weeks during the time of the getting signatures, there were no congressional districts because there were lawsuits.
I remember that. Yes, I remember that.
So even that. So they made that there's so many things I have to do, and I have to number every one of them. I have to by hand number 5,200 sheets.
That's insane.
By hand. It takes 2 days to prep the signatures.
Well, absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
And I have to make sure together. I have to announce where those 500 are in my signatures. I have to announce that too. And check every one of them. It is physically impossible. So we told them this. And do I think that any given state legislator actually knows this? No, they don't. They don't go through it. They have no idea. They don't care. They go whatever, and they just go, what does Cuomo tell me to vote for? I vote for that. Right? I think Cuomo knew what he was doing. The legislators had no idea. They just signed it. But what makes me angry is the judges didn't care. Right? Yeah. Judges are supposed to check the legislature. That's their job. Literally, that's the check and balance. Their job is to check them. Right?
Yep.
Their job is not to follow the law. Their job is to interpret the law. And if it's a bad law, this will go, this is a bad law. It doesn't work. It's not constitutional. It's unfair, whatever. That's what they're supposed to do. My judges in New York State, 9 separate times told me no. Even after nobody made the ballot. To be clear, I didn't make it. The a multimillionaire didn't make it. A sitting congressman couldn't make it. This is the first time in 80 years that New York State had no independent governor candidate.
That's insane. I was watching that. I know I followed Jonathan.
And the judges were like, No,
Go ahead.
we don't care. Sorry.
Yeah.
That's where I'm angry at, right? Because the judges, and I gave them physically, here's how impossible it is. Look, I said it was impossible. Now I'm coming back to court. It was literally impossible. What I told
Literally
you happened.
impossible.
Yes, what I told you was going to happen is what happened. So now can we change it? No. So that's my worry about the impact. I worry that regardless of how many people I speak to, if I can't become popular enough to move, I can't move the needle. That is my worry. Do you feel this similar down there, or is it just me here in New York that we feel this way?
Well, first off, like that is, I complain about our ballot access, and it really does suck. But doing that, and then I followed what happened in New York, and it was like, oh my God, like I mean, there was literally no care from the court system. Where here we actually had in 2021, we had a ballot access win finally. They ruled in, I believe it was November, that the threshold was in fact unconstitutional, and they bumped it down to 1%, which is completely doable, in literally every race. But then, of course, the Secretary of State came back and was like, no, and so they appealed it, and they won the appeal, so they bumped it back up. Which sucked because our convention, Libertarian Party of Georgia's convention, was in January, and we had several candidates that were wanting to run districted races. And once, having to call them and be like, I'm so sorry that I talked you into this with letting you know this number, and even though we talked about it possibly changing, now I'm calling to tell you it changed, but could you please still run? And it's so hard to do anything like that.
Well, you have some fans here. Chad says heroes. So you have some fans.
Yes.
Rhonda says keep up the good fight. So we do have some fans here, so that's support. Nice. There we go. We have some support. I appreciate that. Yes, it's all good. So I guess if you look back at this now, would you do something different now? Did you learn something you didn't know, or is there some lesson you would tell somebody else who would try this?
So there was a lot of things I learned. I don't think that you can truly grasp what petitioning means or what that is going to look like until you do it. I think because I had a lot of people giving me a lot of good advice, and I had actually seen one of my favorite candidates ran as an independent in 2016 locally, and he went out and collected signatures. So I mean, I had seen it in action here locally, but to get out and do it was much different. And so for me, learning that there really is this major necessity, especially for me, I think one of the biggest hangups, or really, quite frankly, what the biggest hangup was in being able to actually get out and collect those signatures. Those signatures were there. I have absolutely no doubt in my mind that those people are out there in this district. It was a matter of, having the manpower to do that.
Yes.
And the money.
People don't realize that you gotta get someone who is prepared to go do the work, which is hard to do in general, right? I'm gonna take time out of my day, time out of my week, spend X number of hours either driving or walking to the place you want me to be, walking up and down that road or wherever I'm going, knocking on doors, or if I'm at like a train station, depending on where you want to put the person, depending on where you are. Some people it's all door to door, some people it's all train stations, some people it's a mix, depending on where you are across the country. But whatever that is, that's not easy work. That's time out of your day, and you got a life, right? You got stuff to do. And now I'm going to say, hey, Rhonda, thank you for support. And can I have 4 hours this week out of your week that you have a life, family, friends, business, whatever you got going on in your career? Can I please take 4 hours out of your week? You're like, okay.
And probably not pay you for it too.
And not pay you for it on top of it. Can I just take the 4 hours out of your life?
Believe in me, please.
Absolutely. That is very hard.
That's what it is.
Yes. And then not just that. Oh, Rhonda, I know it was this week and also next week too. And the week after that, can I keep getting 4 hours? Can I keep getting 4 hours? That's a lot to ask for. And then the worst part is if you're lucky and you're in a good place where people are saying yes and having good conversations, at least
Right.
Rhonda has a good time, at
Yeah.
least. But what if you're not? What
Yeah.
if you got to send Rhonda to a train station and she's getting at least half dismisses, and then when
Yes.
they talk to her, half tell her no? She's
Right.
getting rejection. That was not
Yes.
even fun. So now I'm
No.
saying, can I get 4
It's just
hours
defeating.
and it's gonna suck? So
Yeah, it's just gonna be
can I-
bad.
it's gonna suck and I'm not gonna pay you. So can I please get that? You're right. It is not easy at all. It's very hard. Very hard. And it's hard
Very
for us
hard.
too. We're the candidate.
Yes.
Absolutely.
That is hard to be. I think, and I'm glad it happened this way. The very first day that I petitioned, and I'm from here. I grew up here. I went to school here. I traveled for a little while, but I ended up back here raising my family. I'm part of this community. We're very active in this community, but I go down the road. I'm like, I've got this. Like this is my hometown, and I know it's going to be great. And the first door I knocked on, the first thing out of her mouth was, "Well, I really like Marjorie." I'm like, okay. So she didn't sign. We
Yes.
had a little bit of a back and forth, but she didn't sign.
But
And
there's
then
the problem that we just hit right there, right? In
Yeah.
theory, Angela, in
Yeah.
theory, it shouldn't matter.
Right.
Right? In theory, whether I love Marjorie Taylor Greene, whether I hate her,
Yes.
whatever my view is, then I should vote for her or vote against her if I don't like her, whatever I feel, right? I should do that.
Exactly.
But why can you not be on the ballot?
Exactly. Why can't I have the opportunity? And that's what I tried to explain.
Yes.
You don't have to vote for me. I would like
Correct.
to vote, but you don't have to.
Right.
I just want to be able to run.
Yes.
And
it
so
goes to the fear that people have. Here in New York City, we have it too a lot, right? Most people in New York City are Democrats, right? We're about 6-1 Democrats, Republican here in New York City. My area, just so people know, my local area, my state assembly, they haven't run a Republican in 10 years.
That sounds like here, except for first.
Yes, that's literally
They
how
don't
blue
run.
my area is. They don't bother
Yep.
running a Republican. The Republicans, we're not going to bother running. Why bother? They don't even bother running. AOC is my congressperson.
Oh, yeah.
I accept her credentials.
Yes, so you get it, right?
So yes, and she won by 40 points, and she doesn't show up.
Yeah.
So that's how blue my district is. So my area, even with that, I had people going, "Oh, I don't know if I want you on the ballot, Larry. I want to make sure Hochul wins." And I'm like, "This is the bluest of the blue. It's not like she's not going to win. Can I just get on the ballot?" And there were a lot of people who were like, because they don't want any competition because they believe that the other is evil.
Right.
And since the other is evil, I can do anything to stop the other from doing their thing. So you get it from the right, I get it from the left.
Yep. And it can be very extreme.
Yes.
It is a very, I mean, they figured it out. I mean, I don't know any other way to say it. They really have figured it out.
Yep.
Feeding into this terrible narrative of fear.
Yep.
I mean, and that's exactly, and it's from both, it's this very hardcore fear-based narrative where they're scaring people. The Democrats want to come and, take your children and eat aborted babies to live, and they want to, transition every single one of your kids. They want to sell them to, and then from the other side, it's
what I guess the opposite. Republicans going to force your 12-year-olds to have babies. That's what, they're going to make sure all your 12-year-olds have babies. That's what I get. Trump is going to come by and kill all the Muslims, right? I mean, that's what I hear. Yes, exactly right.
You're going to die by gunfire. That's
correct.
I mean, that is 100%. Yeah,
Yes.
it is insane. And
but
so
Democrats though are very hardcore on Trump. Like they're very much like Trump is going to personally come kill you. Like he's going to come to your house and kill you.
He will come cut your head off.
Correct. Yes.
They are.
True.
And you're right though. It's very extreme.
Absolutely. Let me grab a couple more of these. Shelley says, we know what's wrong and are told we don't have options. This is why they sued you off the ballot. I think you're right, Shelley. I think that's why they sued us off the ballot. That's why they forced us. That's why they wouldn't let Angela on.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Donnie brings up a question. He says, the feds could step in on federal cases. The Constitution allows for it. I don't know if that's true, Donnie, huh?
I don't know. I don't know either. I'm assuming there's some base in it, which is why you're saying that.
No, it makes sense. It wouldn't count for my race, because my race is a state race, but your race
Right.
is a federal race. So maybe
It is.
maybe MTG could have stepped in.
Maybe she could have, and that's something to look into, because there was one.
Yes.
The way I caught her attention was I was the only candidate that was, whether it was intentional or not, I don't know, but I was the only candidate that was being allowed to go to her town halls. And so, or the only one
Oh.
showing up. I don't know which, I'm not going to accuse, but I was the only one. So the first town hall I went to with her was actually local in Ringgold, and my question was, how do you feel about ballot access? And kind of explained it. This is before she even knew who I was, and her answer was really just like way out there, but she ended it. So she had no idea like what she was saying, but
Sure.
she ended it with, I really think that if somebody's going to run, then they have to be able to show a certain level of support. So it was like she was saying she was in favor of the ballot restrictions.
Right.
So it's very interesting. I'm not sure, because of the dynamics, interestingly enough, throughout my race between specifically she and I don't think she would have stepped in. She did not want me on the ballot, and she knew it. I think that was probably clear. It's like I said from the very beginning, a Democrat was never going to win here, but a Libertarian very well could have pulled numbers.
I would say the same thing. New York State will go gold before it goes red.
Absolutely, yes.
It's not going red. It's just not. We're 3-1 Democrat to Republican across the state now. Right. And to be forward, this was, if a Republican was going to win, I mean, I knew they weren't, but if they were going, it would have been this year. I mean, Hochul was very unpopular. Right, Zeldin had tons of money. Biden was unpopular. If there was a year, it was this year. This was the one. So yes. So Ronnie actually has given us some quotes. He said it's from Article 1, Section 4. Just, you might want to write that down. So if you want to talk to MTG about that, Donnie's doing homework for you. Right?
I know. Yes.
And he says, 4-1, the times, place, and manner for the elections for senators and representatives shall be prescribed in each state by legislature thereof. But Congress may at any time by law make or alter such regulations, except as to the places of choosing senators. So there we go. Donnie, see how cool my chat is? My chat's smart.
That is smart. Because I have her email. I might just send it over. I'm going to just that.
See that? Hey. Now we know. There we go. Donnie, look at you. Killing it. Nicely done. Dave says,
just so you're aware.
Angela, you can't be on the ballot because you are a thief. You steal votes from MTG. But he then continues to say, but if Libertarian Party steals votes from Republicans, why don't they steal enough to win? That's a good question. How you messed up, Angela. You should have stolen enough to win.
I know, God.
That's your problem.
Well, they haven't let me on the ballot first.
That's why. See, Dave, that's the problem. If only you let her on the ballot, she'd have stolen all of the votes and won. Right. There we go. Okay.
I would have caused a runoff. It's I think that it's the narrative. I want to answer that question. It's the narrative. That's the biggest thing that independent and third party candidates are up against, are these two major parties. And this is always, right? It's always the most important election of our lifetime. It's always going to be some life altering thing. And so I think that a lot of it is being able to get past that narrative, which I think we're starting to because we're seeing these extremes. And actually, I think ballot access feeds into that, or the ballot restrictions feed into that as well. They've created these extremes. So yes. I think, we're going to see a shift, even though the numbers are low, they're gaining.
I agree. Yes, you're right. We're making more impact, which is why.
Yes.
What's funny is people get mad at me and go, well, Larry, you didn't make it on the ballot this time. And I'm like, yeah, because they spent tens of thousands of dollars suing me to throw me off the ballot. Yes, they literally changed the laws. So
they changed the laws, literally.
They changed the laws and then sued me in civil court. They didn't sue anybody else. They only sued me in civil court. I was the only one. So they sued me in civil court. So I'm like, that should tell you they think I'm going to do something.
Yes, they were so mad at you.
They weren't like bored. They were like, you know what? I'm bored. We could do Hulu or we could sue Larry Sharp. You know, nothing's on Hulu. Let's go sue Larry Sharp. I mean, that's not what happened, right?
Right.
So,
No,
yes, it's
not at
funny.
all.
Christopher says, we need great liberty-minded candidates every election season. I think he's right. We got to keep doing it, right? We can't give up.
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely. He says, I'm working on being one myself and looking for others as well to run for New York City Council. Now, what Christopher's doing is crazy. He's running as a libertarian in New York City. Now, I love Christopher, and I'm glad he's doing it, but he's still crazy. But yes, that's still crazy. But I love it. I mean, because here's the glory.
That's awesome.
Yes, if Chris actually wins this thing, it's magical.
Absolutely.
Like it's magical. The amount of change and power that will happen if Chris wins this thing is like, whoa, a libertarian? What? No, you mean a liberal one? No, not a liberal. A libertarian. No. That's not what I'm saying. A libertarian, right? But it's New York City.
A libertarian.
Yes, they're not going to believe it. Like they're going to think he's something else, right?
Right.
So,
Yeah.
but I do think that kind of thing does matter tremendously. I'm completely on board with that. So with that in mind, let me ask you, for the future, do you feel like you'll try this again? You'll help somebody else do it again? You'll walk away? What do you think is Angela Pence's future? What do you see?
I mean, for me personally, it's I have a passion for helping candidates. I've always had a passion for helping candidates. I think it's just a niche thing that came to me. I love seeing others grow. And get out there and get their voice heard. So
you think like maybe campaign management or ballot access organization or what? What do you think?
Oh, I'll definitely do both. Over the next 2 years. Yeah, over the next 2 years, I plan on continuing to work with I've got projects already, working behind the scenes to help find candidates and help support them. But also I do plan on running again in 2024. It's just a matter of what office am I going to run for, depending on what happens. And I think, we're really watching right now whether Marjorie is going to end up on a VP ticket or not. And that's going to...
You think that's possible?
Oh, 100%. She's already set herself up for it.
Wow.
She's been traveling. Yeah. But there's so many different things that, of course, have to happen for that to happen. So me and several others actually are watching to see, okay, like she won't announce that in 2023. So it's like watching Donald Trump and seeing what he does and seeing where she's at. Because if she didn't run in this race again, which I am a firm believer that she is using this district for her own personal gain, but if she didn't run again, I think I am confident that there would be good candidates that would step up. I met a lot of amazing candidates, even if they weren't libertarian. I was actually incredibly blessed to be working through that primary with the candidates that were running in that race. They were so kind. They wanted to make sure my voice was heard. It was very interesting. They made sure that I was involved. So it was very interesting.
So does that mean that you're actually stronger? And this is an open question. Does it mean you're actually stronger not as a candidate because you can put people together better? Is that what you're saying?
I mean, it could be. I wear a lot of hats. So I just kind of go wherever. But one of my biggest things, so if we end up with good candidates that run for that, I would be happy running for a state legislator position.
Okay. So you would step down a level and go there instead. Okay. Got it.
Absolutely.
That makes sense.
And that's ballot access related. I want to, before I'm done in politics, whether it's working with our state legislators, which I do, I'm blessed to have friendships with many of them, or whether it's getting in there and having to do it myself. I want to see the ballot laws changed here. That is my principal goal. over. I think
So
that
does that
really
mean
is
you
over
might even
everything
work
else.
with like a forward party or something like that even?
Oh, I'll work with anybody who has a
Mhm.
goal, that specific goal in mind. I think we're getting too polarized, right?
Yeah,
Where
that's true.
we, yeah, we look at people and say, well, they don't agree with me on this, so I can't work with them on anything. And that's just not true. You can
Agreed.
ride the bus, to a certain point with Spike actually explained this to me very well, like 2 years ago. He said, the difference between minarchists and anarchists, you ride the bus to a certain point and the minarchists get off and the anarchists keep going,
It's true.
Um,
It's true.
so that's what it is. And
He's
I was
right.
able to, with some of the Democrats that were primarying in my race, I talked in depth with them about things I agree with them on,
Mhm.
such as women's rights and things like that. With the Republicans, I lean more conservative just
Mhm.
because.
Sure.
We had so much to talk about. So things you have to be able to work with people, and that's what I will
I
work
like
with
that. That's
anybody,
good.
that'll do that.
So, Angela, when we move to wrapping this up, is there anything you want to talk about that we might not have talked about? By the way, if you want to get a hold of Angela, Twitter, Angela414, that's FOR, and then the numbers 14, Angela414 on Twitter.
Mhm.
You can check her out, follow us, see what she's doing. Anything that we've missed?
I don't think so. I was forever grateful for the opportunity to run.
Mhm.
As a libertarian, you have to be elected by by the people within the party at your
Right.
convention. And I was very blessed to be nominated. I did have somebody run against me for that. And so I was blessed to be picked. And
Mm.
the people that did rally around me and help me, I mean, it was phenomenal. It was a huge learning experience. And that's
Sure.
something I can
Sure.
take to help. I'm so glad I can take that to help other candidates, whether it is on a federal, state. Now I have experience across the board, on in every campaign,
Right.
like level.
Right.
So that's really cool.
Yeah. Now people are gonna be
I
calling you
wouldn't
saying,
change
"Hey,
it.
Angela, run my campaign. Angela, run my campaign for me. Angela,
I
run my
don't think I could
campaign."
run a campaign in New York. I don't think my husband's from Syracuse, so
Oh, so maybe you never know.
so maybe, but I don't think I would be of much help. I think you're
Okay,
kicking butt though. You've done phenomenal up there.
doing my best I possibly can. Rhonda says this has been super fun. I agree, Rhonda. I agree.
Well, thank
Guys, I
you.
want to
Thank
say
you, Rhonda.
yes, thank you, Angela, for coming today. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Everybody else,
Thank
thank
you.
you so much for watching and for all your questions. I appreciate it tremendously. I will be on this evening at 6 p.m. special time talking about the midterms. And tomorrow, 1 p.m., I'm doing a free solution out of Western New York. So I'm still rock and rolling. Thank you so much, Angela, for coming aboard. I will see you.